Next up, at UFC Vegas 109, we have a very interesting matchup, a very split matchup. This is a fight that has a lot of people jumping from side to side. We have Miles Johns taking on Jean Matsumoto.
Hey.
Miles Johns, 15-3 in his career, 3-1-1 in his last 5. He's coming off the loss to Miles Johns. I definitely fucked those notes up. Who did he lose to? Who did he just? Oh, Felipe Lima. I wrote Miles Johns under Miles Johns. He's taking on Jean Matsumoto.
Is it because he's black and you want to fight himself?
Is he black?
Jean?
Yeah, I don't think Miles Johns is black, dude. Maybe. I don't know.
What do you mean? What the hell?
He looks exactly like my brother. Identical. Same height, everything.
What does height have to do with anything?
Same facial structure. He looks exactly like my brother.
What the hell is going on?
Yeah, okay. He's taking on Jean Matsumoto.
Hey.
16-1 in his career, 4-1 in his last 5. He's coming off that first ever loss. And that was to Robert Font. Miles Johns is a very good fighter, and we've seen him sort of come a long way. He started as a wrestler, then he knocked a bunch of people out. So then he overcorrected, was a pure striker, and now he seems to have found the balance where he's got the power in his hands. He's got very good wrestling. Miles Johns, a high-level athlete. He's very tough. He's fast. He hits hard. He can do all of the things. He is coming off that tricky loss to Felipe Lima where we saw the power, we saw the toughness, we saw the wrestling. He just literally wasn't better in that 15-minute window on that night. He's taking on Jean Matsumoto. Pause for him and everything. He's a well-rounded kid. He's got black belts in multiple different martial arts. He can initiate offensive takedowns. He can be a busy striker. If he is taken down, he can work on bottom. He stays busy. He makes you work. He's a creative striker. He's got a wide variety of kicks and counters. He does get hit, though, like a lot. But he is plenty tough. He's got plenty of cardio he can push through. He's coming off that insanely close loss to Rob Font where he had 7 takedowns, but he lost a split decision because he had a tiny little cut on his head. This is great matchmaking because this is a really fun fight. And we're going to find out if Jean is ready to fight the better fighters in this division or if he's just, we'll keep him where he is. Let's get him slow and steady pace. He's a young kid. He's only 20-something years old. I am a little biased on the Jean side because my ass is a little chapped. I thought he won that fight against Rob Font. I did not agree that all the work Jean put in was overshadowed by a small cut on his face. But the reality is Jean Matsumoto does get hit. And he initiates a lot of wrestling if he's getting hit a little too much. I think Miles Johns can win this fight. I am picking Miles Johns to win this fight. I think he hits hard. I think he's fast. I think he has better wrestling than Jean does. As long as he decides to use it, that's not always a guarantee. So I'm going to pick Miles Johns. And not only that, I bet on him, but I didn't bet the money line. I did plus 3.5, and that was still a plus money bet. All he needs to do math-wise is win 1 round on the judges' scorecards, and I think he can absolutely do that with just the veteran savvy, the good hands, the wrestling. Miles Johns is going to be the pick. What do you think, Jacob?
Yeah, I'm a little bit biased here, guys. I'm a big fan of Jean Matsumoto. So I am biased, but this is a very, compared to his last 2 fights, this is a very favorable matchup for John Silva. I mean, both those last guys brought in crazy pressure. You had Katana, who's really good everywhere with crazy boxing pressure, was getting in a firefight with Jean, which was like a really welcome to the UFC moment. And then he fights a guy like Rob Font that came out and did the exact same thing. In fact, faked like a little glove touch to start the fight, rocked him with the right hand, and just really set the pace from the beginning. And guess what? He handled himself fine in both fights. He was able to find a way. I know that Rob Font fight, he lost or whatever. I thought he did enough to win the fight. I think a lot of people are on my side in that fight. I was obviously really high. I thought, he was going to be able to have a little bit more success with the striking. But a guy like Miles Johns isn't a crazy pressure guy. He's just kind of a plot forward. He wants to throw the big stuff. You might be able to overwhelm a young kid like Jean with volume and land your shots. But he's a good enough striker and a really good Muay Thai striker to where if you're just sitting back throwing the big stuff, he can see that stuff coming, or he can use that as his level change and he can get the takedowns that he wants as well. I think he's the better grappler too. Obviously, Miles has really good wrestling, but Gene is just so well-rounded. I've been talking about Gene for years and years now, being kind of the new age for this division, a future champion. He is so well-rounded. He's shown in those back-to-back fights how incredibly tough he can be. Really high fight IQ, doesn't really get overwhelmed. Even in that fight versus what's his name? He was taken down Argueta. He's taken down like 6 or 7 times early in that fight, and then just is able to just kind of work through it, find the guillotine, doesn't panic. I love Gene. I think it's a great matchup for him. Just because Miles Johns doesn't bring that pressure, will sit back on the strikes, and he's not going to be able to use his wrestling. And if he tries to use his wrestling, Gene can just kind of counter wrestle and wear him down. And Miles kind of slows down if you really kind of keep that pace. I was at a Miles Johns fight before, where I felt like I was the one hyping him up for the second and the third rounds, being like, come on, Miles, he thinks he was fucking dead tired in those fights. If he gets tired versus Gene could even find a finish in this one. So I'm very high on Gene.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the other side, obviously. Gene is somebody I've also been high on in the past. I also thought he'd run the Rob Font fight. One little tiny cut, and this is where people get annoying, because the dude had 7 takedowns. He was hanging with the striking. He did have a small cut here. It wasn't a giant gash. It was quite literally the size of a paper cut. And everyone's like, no, he's bleeding. Damage. It's like, come on, dude. Come on. Let's relax. So I've been high on Gene in the past. I just think this is a tricky matchup. Veteran savvy is something.
It's a great matchup. He's the better striker, and he can equalize the wrestling. He's a good striker when he's not just getting overwhelmed by good boxers. I mean, Katana's a good boxer. Rob Font's obviously a really good boxer too.
Yeah, Rob Font's a very good boxer. That's why I thought
fucking,
7
he's like
takedowns.
Priscilla. He just fucking just sits on right hands.
And he has the wrestling. He's been working in more lately. I don't know.
He's not gonna wrestle Gene.
All right. So if you disagree with the pick, do you like my bet plus 3.5? You don't even think he wins a round?
This is a really good matchup for Gene, in my opinion. Obviously, I'm biased, guys. I promise you, I am a little bit biased, but it feels like a really good matchup for him. I thought he was going to be able to really dominate Rob Font on the ground. Obviously, he wasn't really able to keep the control that I thought, but he's better on the feet versus Miles.
Yeah, it'll be a fun fight. I think this is phenomenal matchmaking. I'm looking forward to it. I am on the Miles John side. Jacob is on the Gene Matsumoto side. Whatever side you're on, DraftKings could score well. If Gene gets a bunch of takedowns, if Miles Johns lands big or gets his own takedowns. And if you want a tiebreaker, you want to see what BetSam thinks, what Artem thinks, what the artificial intelligence thinks that went 11-1 last week, just go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. It's only $10 for an entire month. $10 is nothing nowadays. It was $10 3 years ago. And I promise you, $10 in 2025 is not $10 in 2022. WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top.